We're live. I'm so excited. We have Aisling Whitaker with us. She's the founder of Dental Hive. She owns a badass practice, two locations, right? Two practices.
Mhm.
Yeah. Bite House Dental. I was in awe of her original design. I don't know how I knew or came across it, but I came across it. Everyone check it out. Bite House Dental, Bitehaus. Dental is it's absolutely gorgeous. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
We have trailblazers on this pod now. We were just talking before the pod, Bruce Freeman, Morning Floss. It's like you guys definitely on the leading edge of taking the industry forward. So excited to talk to you about it.
Thank you. Humbled to be amongst good company like them.
No, we're just happy to have you here. Hey Ashley, why don't you tell us like how you got into dentistry? Tell us a bit of your journey.
For sure. So you may hear I have an Irish accent. I'm from Ireland. I actually originally did psychology coming out of school. I went to university for psychology. I ultimately got a PhD in neuropsych and was working in
Oh my
research.
God.
I know, a double doctor, but neither of them medicine. Um, and I just found research pretty lonely, to be honest. Like I do an MRI scan on somebody and analyze their data for a week, but it gave me other good things. You know, I loved being in science. I loved research. I love computer science. I'm a techie nerd. I learned programming and also got to like shadow a lot of people and get a lot of amazing mentors over that time. So kind of did a bit of a 360, ended up in dentistry after shadowing a number of specialists. And my dad was a dentist.
I worked in a lab too. I counted fruit flies.
Oh,
That was
no.
like my thing. We worked with Drosophila. So I'm hearing
Oh.
like your version of working in the lab, and then I remember mine, and I'm like, mine was lonely. I didn't even get to talk to people.
Yeah.
I was in my own head talking to fruit flies. So
It's just, you know, 1 hour a week of humans to like 70 hours of data. But I mean, it was
and
good.
like how many years did you do that for?
So my PhD was 3 years, and I knew a few months into it that it wasn't going to be my end game, and I already started to look around at what I was going to do afterwards. That was going to be different. I grew up. My dad is a dentist, and he's a really good, amazing general dentist, and had a really nice clinic. And I'd always kind of worked for him, so never really considered it as a career option because it was the like family option, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And then after going through all of that and being so separated from humans in a lot of ways, I, you know, started to do some work with specialists and things like that and realized actually there's a really exciting part of dentistry. And it it totally reignited wanting to go back and going to dental school. And from day one was like, I'm doing this course just so I can finish it, so I can open my clinic, so I can do something a bit more unique. You know, I was ready to go from day one. So I had my eye on the prize from the moment that I set foot in dental school.
So this is a common theme in dental school, and I have a couple of classmates that are in this situation. They are also kids of dentists.
Oh, yeah.
So now that you have seen it growing up, you've done it, you've opened up multiple successful practices, dipped your toes in entrepreneurship many times, even early on, and we'll get to that.
Mm.
What would your advice be to someone who is a child of a dentist?
You know, I have a 4-year-old, so I mean, who knows what dentistry is going to look like when I read an article today about teeth being grown. I don't know if you guys are seeing this, but I I don't know. I think for me, like I love the dentistry. There's aspects of the dentistry that I really love, but it's the other aspects of it. It's the like the owning a business and like you said, the entrepreneurship side of it, that I also really enjoy. And I think you have to love both. I think say if you're going into dental school not having been part of a family of dentistry, and you might go into it for the love of the medicine and the science, but that's like 30% of the job or less. It's more about people and the business and all of those other aspects of it, and so little about the hands-on dentistry, or that's how I feel. Of course,
I
that.
110% agree.
Yeah.
Like you're totally right. Dentistry is about people. And it's funny because you can graduate top of your class or you can graduate bottom of your class, but patients only know how well you treat them,
like how you made
and
them
how you made them feel.
and how you made your
Totally.
team feel. And like that's for me the definition of success. It's not the financial success, of course, that can come with it, but it's like how I feel when I leave work every day and how good I feel about that because of that impact.
How do you measure that?
I don't know, like how full my cup is. And it's pretty full most of the time. Like I really love it. And I love I love my team staying with me. That's a really big part of it. Like keeping people with me, how they sit. Like I've had such amazing mentors over the years and leaders in different shapes and different capacities. And when I have the opportunity to do that for other people, that makes me feel so happy. And so the measurement of like somebody coming to me to ask me for help and being actually able to give them the time to do that and them leaving feeling good about that, to me, that's really what I'm looking for. That's your mindset as well. You're obviously trying to do something really positive to shape our community. And it's the dentistry, the hands-on dentistry part. Like, yes, I love it. And for me, it's Invisalign. Like I love alignment and I love all of that. But that's a really small part of it for me.
How do you like with patients? I know you said like it's how we make our patients feel, right? But if you're doing dentistry and maybe not Invisalign, but like, endo, oral surgery, patients aren't always the happiest to see you, even though we're getting people out of pain.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, it is still dentistry.
Mm-hmm.
How do you not let their negative perception take control of your day? Because after a while, it can grind on you. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I mean, I think obviously having the bit of background in psychology helped maybe learn some of those skills, because we learned a very little bit in dentistry about breaking bad news and that type of thing. Breaking bad news is even just like you need a root canal. But I think, I don't know, at some point, you're able to see the bigger picture. At some point you realize that you are really helping people and somehow able to turn it around. I don't know if it's learning the right verbiage to talk to people, or in terms of making them feel, but like really getting down on their level and like recognizing, yeah, this is a tough thing that you're going to go through. We have the skills, but also, we've built a relationship and you trust me. And I don't get a lot of that negative feedback from patients in that sort of, and I don't mean negative in like, an amazing dentist, because like we're all good dentists, that's aside from that. But I mean the negative in terms of, that they leave feeling distressed. Like they tend to leave feeling good about themselves. And I think that's how dentistry
I think it's
changing.
more like coming to the dentist. You know what I mean? It's like, oh,
Yeah.
I hate coming here. I hate you. And then I'm like, dude, I'm here to work with you. Like you got this problem here. We're going to fix it together.
Yeah.
And I really found that I used to take it personally, like early in my career.
Right.
And now it's almost like backwards. Now it's like, you know what? You have this problem. I know how to fix it. Let's do this shit together.
Yeah.
And I'll give you a high five at the end. Right. And I think for younger dentists listening, it really helped me. And I'm sure you'll agree here, Ashley. It's like, if you want to work together instead of having your patient work against you, I think if you bring them to your side, it really makes a huge difference.
Totally. Like at the beginning, when we first opened our clinic, obviously I had a lot more free time. It was, super quiet. Like you'd see 4 patients in a day. And I used to invite patients in all the time just to have a coffee with me and just to sit and chat, like not do the dentistry, especially my nervous patients, having like a pre-appointment even before the new patient exam. And in some ways it was like for them to meet me and kind of get a feel of our vibe and the type of personality and if it was a good fit, but also give me a chance to kind of like figure them out a little bit and see what kind of approach I would have. Because, we all wear different hats, even in terms of the types of conversations that we have. And that really helped. And like, I used to follow up at every single new patient exam with a call to see how did it go and everything like that, and they'd be really shocked, like, why is my dentist calling me at dinner time, you know? But that really helped. And like, I have you build that trust, right? We all build that trust over time, and you have to put in the effort, especially if you're a general dentist. Like, you really do build those relationships over a long period of time. We want our clinics to be in this neighborhood for 30 plus years if possible. So you do have to put in the work, and you do have to allow them to come onto your side. And like you said, sort of turning it around so that you are doing it together, and that you can't just like fix something mechanically and then set them free, and then they never have to do anything about it on their end either. Like, they have to be really all in. On the flip side of that, like, I let go of patients fairly regularly if I don't think that they are on the same page as me, because I want to do comprehensive dentistry, and I want to really treat them and have a proper treatment plan, and do what I think is the right treatment for them. And I am a conservative dentist, but still I want to make a proper plan. And if people are really like, I don't want to take x-rays ever, you know, I don't want anesthetic, I don't want this, they're just not the right fit for me either. So I feel confidence in being allowed to say to patients, I think you should find somebody else to work with you. And I think that's really hard as a new dentist.
How do you make the transition? And I'm pivoting a bit. How do you make the transition from working in an industry to on an industry? Because Dental Hive is sort of macro, right? And dentistry is micro. And I don't mean that offensively. I don't mean that in some sort of derogatory way, but I think a lot of people have the ambition to work on an industry, but don't know how as a dentist because you get trained on the minutia for 4 years.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I think for me, being outside of it initially and seeing it growing up, and always kind of seeing some flaws in the system, you know, from the outside.
You have to be a bit of a pessimist, don't you?
You do, yeah. So you see flaws and you want to sort of fix them, or, you know, brainstorm ideas of how to work on them and make things run smoother. And when I was going into it, I kind of knew that I'd have sort of a parallel trajectory, that I wanted to do both, and I wanted to be working in it because, you know, there's an enjoyment there, but also maybe do something for the dental community, and be part of it in that bigger sense, and, you know, make some kind of smooth changes, like to help the industry overall.
It's just odd because I feel like as a entrepreneur, you're always told you have to be an optimist because no one else is wacky enough to execute this idea unless you believe in yourself. So you have to be an optimist, and you have to have that part of your brain working. But then you also kind of have to be a pessimist because you have to find the problems to fix, right?
Or
because
like
if you're
a very critical thinker.
Yeah, maybe that's a better word, a critical thinker. But then you also have to turn on the side of your brain, which is you can't be too critical about your own idea because you'll never go anywhere with it, right? Because you're just going to point at the flaws.
Working on it to minutia, you have to actually put pen to paper.
Yeah, because they're like essentially any good idea, you should never be scared of anyone stealing because, you know, if it was that easy, someone would have already done it.
Right.
So it's weird. It's a weird dynamic that I think a lot of people struggle, including myself, with understanding.
And you're doing, I mean, you're both doing the same. You have these parallel careers where, you know, well, Akil, you're not there yet, but you're going to be working in dentistry, but you're already doing something on a much more macro level. And I think it's certain people have that side of their brain and their personality that they need both to really feel satisfied in a career, and it's okay. And I think we're kind of people are redefining what their career trajectory looks like. Like, it wasn't a traditional thing even to own multiple clinics. Like, it was a dentist, general dentist owns one clinic, or maybe they own two. But then you see these mini DSOs happening, or even bigger chains than that, you know, a dentist owns 15 or whatever, and that's possible, you know. So there's going to be, I think, a lot of changes coming in our industry where people are looking outside the box and they are starting to think differently in terms of how their career can progress. And I think that's really exciting. It's good to have people in our industry who are also working on the bigger picture to help our industry move forward, and they're not just coming from people outside of our industry who don't really have skin in the game.
Totally.
I feel like you just jumped a conversation for me there, and I don't know what Dental Hive even is. You have to explain that to me.
Okay, so Dental Hive is a mobile app that's just for dental professionals, and we started it at the start of the pandemic, or that's when we started developing it. But the long-term kind of mindset or goal for it is to have a digital hub where we can all go to every day that is for professional development, for finding staff or jobs, for help in the day-to-day, for mentorship, for resources, like all in one place, and that it's built out by dental professionals. Like obviously I'm a co-founder. Everybody who I work with is in dentistry. All of our thought leaders are in dentistry. So we're trying to create a platform essentially that is a little digital virtual world that we all need to go to every day or want to go to, where we can find what we're looking for to support our careers.
So is it like job listings? Like when I go on the site, that's mainly what I see.
Okay, so it's an app, so it's not a website. So when you are in there,
sorry,
there's
an app. Yeah.
That's okay. Maybe eventually it will be also a website, but it makes more sense in the app form. The jobs component of it, I would say, is more like a dating app. So it matches people based on criteria, and it gets smarter over time. So the goal is to match people with jobs that actually they could potentially stay in, and that they could find something that they're going to be looking for, and build stronger teams. That's 1/5 of the app, I would say. The other components of the resources and the people finding co-op placements, and dentists finding shadowing and mentorship, and there's a lot of different components of it. We did start with jobs initially because there's such a jobs crisis right now in dentistry. We all feel that. And it's taken off. We've got over 5,000 verified dental professionals in Canada on there.
Wow.
And it's growing very rapidly.
Wow. From your perspective, is dentistry an easy place or a hard place to start a business in? That's like obviously not a dental office, but a startup.
I would say a hard place.
Why is that?
I think it's you have to gain trust. It's not just an easy place for people to like in our case, people don't want to necessarily download something on their phone unless it's coming from a trusted source. And so you have to have some integrity. People need to know who you are. People need to see what you're there for and understand, what your goals are. I think once we meet people at conferences or I'm speaking and people, really understand what we're doing, then there's a trust there, there's a support. But I think it's very I think it's a skeptical industry in a lot of ways. And
why do you think that is? Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you find the same, but I can't tell you why, because I feel like we're fast to do other things like social media and put our whole lives out there in front of people. But maybe there's some level of fear when we're putting our professional self out there in some ways. And I think we thought initially it would be so simple. It would just be like, it's a no-brainer, because it's a no-brainer to us. And it is, like, in the initial days, we were faced with a lot of like uncertainty, I would say, about people using it. And then all of a sudden, as soon as, their friend was using it, then 25 of their friends were using it. And then it was easy, so it's definitely, an industry that really relies on your reputation. And so if you're in a good place, it's good. But I think otherwise it's quite tricky to grow a business in this area.
So true.
Can you tell me how you go from idea to conception of the actual products? Like, can you walk us down that path? Because we recently had James Younger from Tempstars, and he also created an app. And it just blows my mind away that dentists, like, I go home and read or work on other stuff, and then there's geniuses like you guys out there that are making apps. Like, how do you do that?
It's a lot of hustle. Like,
Yeah.
it's all consuming, all hours of all of your day. For me, I started the initial app myself. I did the development of it myself. I'm familiar with
Like,
programming.
you coded it and
I
everything?
coded it, yeah. And
Wow.
it was the pandemic, it was lockdown, and I had nothing
Yeah.
to do, right? So I was doing all the CE, like we were all doing all the CE courses online and joining all the virtual study clubs. But then, my day job, let's say, during the lockdown was programming this out, like to sort of, test functionality. And then obviously it got to a point where I'm going to be back in work. I'm going to be doing some dentistry. I'm going to hire a developer and I'll do the create the roadmap for it. But like I said, we got together a team of dentists and specialists, and we got all of their opinions, and we go to those KOLs frequently to ask their feedback on areas that we're thinking of developing out, and hear what people want, talk to our users frequently. What's working for you, what's not working for you, what do people want? Because we want to grow something for our community, right? For the dental community. So we really wanted to be led by the dental community and create something that we'll all find useful. Like, I myself have used it. Like, I've hired a lot of people. That's pretty cool. And but I'm not creating it just for myself. I'm creating it for you guys and people who are listening. And so we want to hear if there's something that they want to see, and then that's how we kind of roadmap it out.
That's so cool. I just love seeing people go like one step in a different direction, like always. Like whenever we have someone on, like James Younger or our last guest, Joel Rosenblum, just people who can do something different, whether it's in the entrepreneurship realm or within in Dr. Rosenblum's case, he's an instructor of mine, so I can't call him Joel. Like I would feel terrible doing that. But in that case, going down the path of service, it's just so incredibly interesting when people kind of take one step off the beaten path and go into this abyss. But often that abyss leads to a lot of, there's no roadmap, there's no rule book. For once, there's not a strict guideline from a college or it's like you're kind of on your own. How do you deal with that kind of anxiety and that's constant, you're kind of lost. It's the wild west, right? There's no form you can fill out to get calls with someone, right? You kind of have to do it your own in your own way. So how do you deal with that?
I feel you're like you're gonna freak me out here. I don't have a lot of anxiety about the abyss, let's say, it could go anywhere, because like at the very heart of it, initially we're doing it for ourselves, like myself, my co-founder, and initially we were doing it because it's a passion project. It's a passion project, and so there's a lot of excitement surrounding it, and there's a lot of internal drive to do something even if it doesn't work out. Like, as in, the marker of success of it is not necessarily in that initial phase, that 100,000 people are using it, let's say. But then there's a turning point where it's out there and that first sort of checkbox is checked, and you're like, okay, so we did it. Like, you can walk away at that point, because sometimes that's the point where you're like, that's what we wanted. We just wanted to hit that goal. And then you make the decision, like, are we really all in on this? We're really, this is what we're doing now. Because, it reaches a point where I have to make the decision of, do I stop doing dentistry? Do I walk away from clinical dentistry because this is, you know, at least 40 hours a week, let's say, on this project. And so there is a turning point where you say, like, I have this career that I enjoy and I'm good at it, but then I have this other potential avenue that I could go down, and it's a tricky career choice. I wouldn't say it's piled full of anxiety for me per se, but there's definitely this uncertainty mark where you say, I have this certain thing that's solid and I know where that path's going to take me, but then I have this other thing that's very exciting and I don't know where it could take me. And am I gonna go all in? Am I gonna give it a go? The answer was yes. And I haven't completely given up on clinical dentistry at this point, but you know, it's maybe 2 days a week, sometimes less. But it's doing the type of dentistry, like very fine-tuned to the type of dentistry that I love. And for me, that was the right choice. It was a bit scary, but also very exciting. I think the excitement outweighed the fear component.
And I think the incredible,
So,
I was just going
sorry,
to say
go
the
ahead.
incredible part of that is you were able to make a decision, which I find most impressive of all. You made a decision with that amount of ambiguity, because like anyone who's left anyone romantically knows that at the time there's no, you know, everyone can smack you over the head and say, you know, this person's bad for you, or a habit, this habit's bad for you, or a hobby, this hobby's bad for you, and you don't see it in the moment. But look, you can only, I love this quote, it's, you can only connect the dots looking back, you can never connect dots looking forwards. So the fact that you made that decision, whether it's right or wrong, or people agree with it or don't, I just respect the hell out of the fact that you made a decision, because that's the hardest part.
And I will say, like, obviously I have the luxury to make the decision in that I have a very supportive partner who, I don't even know why he believes in the level of entrepreneurship that I'm willing to put out there, but he sees something, you know, interesting in it too, and is able to, you know, work hard behind the scenes as well. And then, you know, we do have 2 clinics that are going very well, and I have the ability to not have to be so hands-on in the clinic, you know, in the clinic that I was the primary dentist in, and because we have great associates and things like that. So the stars did kind of align timing wise, that can be a big part of it for people. But yeah, like, it's a big decision to make. But it feels like the right one. Like you said, it's like trying to choose a partner, or, you know, you don't want to look back with regrets for not giving it a go. And yeah, this is where we're at right now.
Actually, I see what you created. I understand, you know, how much time and dedication you put towards it. But when I'm building something or developing something, or my heart goes into it, I feel like it's just never good enough. Like, it's just never, like, it's hard to hit, like, enter, it's done, and I'm going to release it into the world. How do you get to that point, and how did you know that what you've created was good enough? Because I feel like a lot of people start working on things and then they just get in their own head and it never comes to fruition.
I know, and I think there's definitely a sense for me where I'm like, oh God, like, I'm asking thousands of people to use this. So if there's flaws, they will be found. It's not like your mother is reading it or something and she thinks you're great. Yeah, I mean, I think it's not just me. I do have a team. We try and be very meticulous, and like, it's like playing a game, you know, where you go and you're walking into the corners to see if there's any loose pixels or whatever. And so we do try, you know, to cross all the T's and dot all the I's, but there's always going to be, with all of these things, that like 80-20 rule where, you know, sometimes you can't achieve the perfect, let's say, quote unquote. You just can't. It's just not possible. So you put the 80% out there, and you hope that the intention of why you're doing it is enough, I would say, rather than, okay, it's absolutely perfect. And sure, to be completely honest, like, we have had situations where we put out an update, let's say, and because we're in version like 8 or 9, let's say, of the app at this point, you put out an update, and then within a day you get this support ticket, and you're like, oh no, some random little glitch has happened, and like someone can't post a job, and the whole point of the whole thing is that, or something really silly that you're like, how does this happen? So you're all scrambling. So that's still going to happen, but then you hope that at least the people on the other side go, they're really trying to do something here. They're really trying to do something special. They're really working hard. We can see that integrity and that component of it, as opposed to it's perfect. It's not perfect. So, it's not worthwhile. And that's the same in dentistry too, right? Like, it's not possible. We don't work in a perfect, like, environment or situation. We're fixing things that are already broken, and so we can't actually achieve something as good as, say, an original natural tooth structure. So everything that we're doing is a compromise to some extent or another. We're all doing fantastic dentistry, and we're all upskilling ourselves and doing things to the absolute best of our abilities, but nothing is as good as what the person had when they were 15 years old or whatever, let's say. So we have to kind of get comfortable with that.
And in terms of developing your product, like, going back to Dental Hive or whatever anyone's project is, I always feel, and from my own personal view as well, perfection is procrastination hiding in the lurks. You know what I mean? Like, we tell ourselves it's not perfect, it's not ready to be released, or it's not ready for me to show people what I've been working on. But really it's procrastination, because it will never be perfect, exactly like you said. And we use that perfection as an excuse not to work on things, or not to release things into the world. So I totally hear what you're saying, and nothing will ever be perfect. So just do it. Yeah, you just have to do it.
Go for it and be a trailblazer and take some risks. And none of us are perfect, so even the people on the other side of it are not perfect. And I think there's an understanding there.
Do you collect or do anything with the data that you gather off the app?
As in, do we analyze people's behaviors?
Yeah, like, are you able to, because dentistry, like we're talking about the ambiguity, there's no centralized information whatsoever compared to other industries that you go into, where you can get annual market reports and yada, yada, yada. In dentistry, everyone, like Nike always says, is on their own island. So they don't know what the average pay for a hygienist should be. They don't know what, how many hours a week they should be working. They don't know what the average job satisfaction is. You're kind of in the cool position where you kind of are like overseeing the whole market. Are you able to do anything with that data?
Yeah, so we have certain beacons that we track in terms of people's behaviors, but also in terms of, let's say, in Toronto, how much people are spending on a hygienist, how much they put an ad out there for, but how much they hire for. We ask them, did you hire? How much did you pay for this job? And then we know how many years of experience that person has, and that type of thing. So we are slowly collecting and collating that data.
That's wicked.
Yeah, like, I don't know if that will look like our own kind of annual report based on, true findings as opposed to reported findings. We're kind of, it's still undecided, let's say, what we're going to do with it. Of course, our plan is to not share it with third parties. That's in there. We protect our data. But yeah, we're able to collect those kinds of stats, and it'll be kind of an interesting resource to have later on.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because a lot of the data, like you said, is totally missing in our profession. I found looking for jobs in Alberta may not, like, it's difficult to find certain positions. Like, is Dental Hive like growing across the country, or is it more in Ontario than
So we
Alberta,
started in
or how's it
Ontario.
grown? Yeah.
Yeah, it started in Ontario because we're here, and obviously we kind of started it as a little pod and moved out. But we're across the country, and we're growing into the US. Like we see posts come up in New York, and we see posts come up in Chicago and things like that. So we're growing. We're joining networks of like dental educational networks and things like that to help us grow. So we've partnered with RDHU, which are the largest hygiene network across Canada. We're partnering with certain dental schools and like dental assisting schools. And they're getting their co-op placements through us and things like that. So we're trying to grow across the country, but also like state by state as well.
So why, I think we kind of we're dancing around this topic. Why should dentists care about HR? Because it's the easiest and hardest thing. It's like, I feel like people accept mediocre all day long, but then there's, another cohort of people that have extremely high expectations and nobody actually meets them. It's like, why should dentists care? Because every dentist that comes to this podcast, what's the biggest issue you have? HR, without a fail, every single one. But why should they care?
I want to go to work and work in a place that I want to work in. I want to surround myself with people that I feel are as passionate as I am when I'm doing the dentistry, and who are all kind of on their own professional development journey. And we support that at our clinics. We contribute to all of our staff doing education. And I don't just mean CPR, I mean like actually growing as a dental professional. I think when the pandemic hit, we lost a lot of dental professionals to other careers. They could just change over to banking or other jobs that would offer them things like benefits and would offer them normal working hours or flexibility with their family, or some kind of a career trajectory. And then we are shocked and we are stunned when our staff are leaving us for, it's not just higher pay, but it's like a better work life and a better work experience, let's say, in terms of what they're actually getting out of it. I think we're complacent if we think that people can afford to live, especially in the main cities, on low salaries. But at the same time, say, for example, my assistants, who they're so highly trained, I can afford to pay them well. And they're also working hard, and they're doing additional things. Like they're able to work at the capacity of what their qualification allows them to do. And I empower them to be able to do that. I know for a lot of dentists, that's nerve-wracking to allow their assistants to do a lot of things, like, for example, within Invisalign, or, educating their patients and things like that. But by allowing them to do that, and by giving them the training to do that, it frees up all of my time. So I can work this much smoother day, and I can see double the number of patients because I have a team around me who are just amazing and who are really working hard, and they're so passionate. And it's hard for them to find another job like that, because it can be hard to find clinics who are willing to actually support it as a career. And I think that if that's what we all want, we want to keep our teams in dentistry as their career, we have to realize that we're the ticket for that. We have the ability to really support our teams and grow them, and then our clinics will grow. Like, there's a upfront cost to it, but it comes back to you. It's not a financial loss. It's an investment.
Ashley, I got a question for you. Can you be friends with your staff? Like, can you go out for drinks? Like, what's the HR line here in the sand?
You know what? We have an amazing professional relationship, and we do frequent things like going out for lunch, going out for dinner, going out for drinks. But I think I don't need to be their friend. Like, I think it's important that there is a boundary, and a healthy boundary, and also that there's boundaries that you set, communication boundaries, like do not disturb after work hours and things like that. I think it's really important. I don't think it's healthy relationship wise for a leader to be best friends with their team. That's my personal take on it. Maybe other people are doing differently, but I'm there for my team. Like, I'm there at the drop of a hat for any of them if they needed me. But we don't have to be friends. And I think that's healthy. On the other hand, I love for them to be friends with each other. Like, I really encourage the team doing a lot without me, or without me and my husband or our management team. Like, I encourage our receptionist team to all go out, and we have a lot of them between the clinics, or our hygiene team. And by growing those relationships between them, they always cover for each other. They're there for each other. They have each other's backs. It really neutralizes any potential negative feelings in the office, because they actually have relationship with each other.
With this new,
Definitely a line for me.
With this new kind of let's call it, I don't want to say millennials because I'm gonna throw them under the bus, but
Aren't you a millennial?
No, I'm not a millennial.
Dude, you are, come on, how are you not?
I'm not. I'm too young. I think millennial right now is like 30. Millennial.
I think it's 30 to 40, because I think I made millennial by 1 year. I turned 40 this year.
Yeah, so I'm not a millennial.
That means I'm a millennial?
Necky, we're millennials.
I'm 39, and I guess we're millennials. Oh no.
So millennials are 1981 to 1996.
Yeah.
Yikes. 84. Yep.
So I'm 97, so I'm actually a Gen Z. Actually, I'm with the 2012s. I'm basically with the newborns. But effectively, I think a lot of people have written off, maybe it's my generation, maybe it's not the millennial generation. I think you guys kind of like screwed it up for us, because you guys wanted beanbags in the office and this thing called work-life balance. But then you have the Gen Zs, and the Gen Zs are just like a whole new wave of people who basically either Gen X's, who were born from 1965 to 1980. They think that, Gen Zs are just like lazy and don't want to do anything. And in a way that's kind of true, because they don't want to work in the way that their parents worked, right? They don't want to do busy work. They don't want to do things that they may not feel as high impact, right? It's a different kind of work. So how do you incorporate this huge sort of movement of people not wanting to be in office, not wanting to work past 5, not wanting to, call it mimic their parents or grandparents' way of work? How do you sort of incorporate that all into what you're trying to do with Dental Hive?
So we have implemented a number of virtual jobs that our team get to rotate through. So like work from home days where they can remote in and do certain work. Especially in the Canadian winter, it was really nice last year. I think every generation that ages says that about the next generation, and that's like a generational trauma that we're all going to have to sustain and be part of. It's like, keep down the noise, kids, kind of thing. And now we're becoming that, like me and Necky, not you, Akil. You're okay for a while. But I think that's something that we all will go through, and it's an excuse in a lot of ways. I hear people saying it to me all the time, like, oh, these new grads, this batch of new grads this year are
totally
they don't want to work for whatever. I mean, I was hearing that from dentists that I knew growing up. So everybody says that every year. The truth is, the age range of staff in our clinics is from new grads to decades of experience, and everyone's in there and everyone's hustling. So I think it's more about, sure, there's going to be some people that maybe give a bad reputation, but there always was, and there is always going to be. It's more about actually listening to the people that you work with, and really, I think, being fairly careful with your hiring in terms of like actually having an onboarding procedure, not just like drop people into a baptism of fire, but actually finding out in those first 6 weeks to 12 weeks if they're the right fit for your clinic. Having expectations very clearly defined, so you know what you want out of these team members, and they know what you want out of them, and you're saying, this is what I'm offering, this is the package, this is what the trajectory looks like in our office, this is what we want you to do. And you evaluate performance over time, and you keep the right people. And by surrounding yourself with those people, it breeds more people like that, actually, because then they're like, oh, my friend from this other office is really similar to that, and whatever. And I think it's an excuse, like saying the laziness. I hate hearing that. Even when I was in my late teens and early 20s, and I was working and sort of doing things like on committees in dentistry in Ireland, and I was the youngest by a mile, and felt undersold a lot of the time because of age. And still sometimes, even though I'm 40, people think that I'm like 12 years old or something, and say, oh, you're young. It's a cop-out, and I think there are enough people out there that are really willing to work hard and really have the drive and the passion, and you just have to find them.
Totally, everyone's unique. You can't give a blanket statement like that. Yeah. There's different people amongst all of us. And Ashley, thank you so much for joining us. It was great. I've always wanted to learn what Dental Hive was, and the founder behind it. So I think you're a badass, and I really encourage you to keep on progressing Dental Hive, and I'm excited to see what more features you add to it, and how it's going to become a part of our dental profession here in Canada and in North America, it sounds like. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. It's really nice to chat to you. I feel like it's just been a chat with friends.
That's what it is. Yeah. It's us. It literally is just that. It's us and the 4 listeners. So
yeah,
my dad is like the main listener, so it's perfect. He'll love it.
So nice. I love that.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, guys, and I hope to see you in person soon.
Welcome to the Hi, I'm Neki. Is that a sweater?
Yeah, dude, it's the Hi, I'm Doctor sweater. Oh, dude, I see you got yours on too. Looking sharp, bro.
Dude, where'd you get yours from?
It was super easy, man. I just went on to our website, www.hiimdoctor.com. That's HIIMDR.com.
We have a website. We must be raking in cash from selling these sweaters.
Dude, we are killing it. I mean, if that includes losing money on every single sweater that we make, I think we're doing really well.
Yeah, Neki and I are donating all proceeds, which is 0, to charity, because we are losing money.
I wonder if the charity will pay us. I think we got something here, man. Let's keep on losing money on every sweater.
Alrighty, guys, go check us out. hiimdoctor.com.
We'll see ya.